Welcome everybody. Today we're going to be covering the classic bob. The reason we call it classic is because these are typically styles that never truly go out of style. The bob is a constant in our fashion world. I've never really ever seen a time when it wasn't in some favor. I've seen a lot of different trends come and go as far as how we present the bob. So we say that there's always a natural progression to all of our hairstyles. So there's changes in how they look and move and feel, but the bob remains relatively the same. So I've gone and started off by, just so you know, I've prepped the hair with Root Boost and with List Control, L'Oreal List Control. I'm going to start with my profile parting from the center to the nape. I obviously do not have a mirror in front of me, so I had to kind of tilt my mannequin back some and try to use that as to find my center in the front. I'm going to just pin this up out of the way. Starting with a diagonal back or diagonal forward section in the nape area below the occipital. We're going to dealing with about 1.5 inches maybe of hair. The question I always get is, how big should my sections be? Well, my answer is always the same: big enough. You always want your sections to be big enough to where you can see your guide, but small enough to where you're not working with too much hair. Now, one of the things that I do stress is that we have our diagonal forwards end up the same, because we need to have our points of origin for the section be the same. So as we're working, I want to see that there's the same amount of hair from here to here as from here to here. And it looks like we've done a pretty good job of that, so I'll do a little better job pinning this section up and out. You'll notice as I work, I'm going to be using the fine teeth of my comb. The reason being that I really want to get tension on there for my for accuracy. Not a ton of tension, but you'll always get more tension using the fine teeth than using the coarse teeth. Now, to start this haircut, we begin by putting our mannequin's head forward. Okay, when I have my clients in the salon, I don't just ask them to put their head forward. I say, put your chin to your chest, because that really kind of puts the hair more where I want it to be. So I'm just going to start with about a 2-inch piece of hair. And I'm going to cut that guideline into the hair first. And I know it's just heartbreaking for you guys too. You know what? One of the things I want to stress here is, you see where the neck is starting to kick out. I'm actually going to take this up about 1/2 inch higher than what I was originally going to do. The reason being, I really want this to cup under. And when we're looking at our client's hair, where it falls on that neckline, if we start doing it as it curves out, then it can cause the hair to kick out when we get over to the side. So we don't want that. So one of the things we should be doing here is working that line. I'm just gonna kind of start it off a little square in the comb, and then I'm gonna move it to against the neck. This is just so that I get a nice even kind of start to the hair, if you will. So as we work this shape, we're gonna work it against the neck. And it always feels a little different on a mannequin than it does on a human being because the mannequin's skin does not give. Okay, so now we bring this down, check it for symmetry, make sure everything looks copacetic. Feeling like maybe this side is just a tad longer. And that might have to do with how the hair is springing up. Okay. Okay, I'm fairly confident with that. So, taking down another 1/2 inch section, thereabouts, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. We'll comb again. We're combing to natural fall. Okay, I'm gonna check my points of origin, make sure that my line is straight. Looks pretty good. It's really easy with mannequins to kind of measure because they're all sewn the same, so you can kind of tell when so this beginning part, I'm kind of trapping the hair against the scalp or against the skin. And I'm going in and I'm cutting with my scissors. But the main thing is combing everything to natural fall. Okay. Disconnected. You might notice that I use my comb to help line this up. So as I run this all along that line, it helps me keep my line very even all the way across. I just set it up along this part and I know that that is good to go. Okay, I'm gonna do one more section. It's going to take me to the top of the occipital. Almost to the crown. I'm gonna start to lift her head up because we're getting above the occipital. We're gonna comb everything again to natural fall. Bring this down. I'm gonna cut directly along. Natural fall straight down. Towards me a tad. So I'm feeling she's getting a little long on the tooth here. Okay, that's feeling pretty good. These little guys right here, I'm not gonna even worry about right now. We're gonna take care of those in the finish, okay? So don't get too obsessed on that. Okay, so now at this point, I'm going to take a horizontal section across, creating a horseshoe. Obviously, if you have a client who has just copious amounts of hair, sometimes what I'll do is take a diagonal forward section into the front, and I will do that first. But our mannequins, we know exactly how much hair they have. So I don't really kind of skip that step, if you will. In the salon, time is money, money is time. So we don't want to add unnecessary steps to everything we do. However, we still want to work always cleanly and concise. Clean and concise. You want your work to exude conscientiousness and professionalism. See some of these people on YouTube just going slapdash through a cut, thinking it's funny just to go in and cut the hair like a crazy person. And I just sit and wonder what's going through their minds as far as what their client would be thinking at this point. It's almost as though they don't have any respect for their client's hair. Okay, so as we marry the sides and the back, this is where certainly an 8-inch comb comes in handy, because again, we can line this up along that line and connect through to our cut, to our guidelines. Can you guys see that? So again, combing to natural fall, getting the blades of my shears behind that, line everything up along that line, and I'm going to okay. Now we're going to work the other side in the same fashion. Okay, So now we've gotten to that special place right here, behind the ear, where we're joining the two sides. So again, paying very close attention. I'm going to actually make sure my comb is plenty over onto the side of the hair that I'm going to need to line up right here in order to keep my consistency in my line, right? So again, lining my comb up, using that as my level. You get that last little piece right there. Now see, I almost broke my own rules. Okay, so now the moment of truth. Let's go ahead and see if, oh, it's a little longer on this side. Okay. Still a wee bit long. Okay, I think we've got it. So, I'm going to take one more horizontal section. So basically we're going to create a very, very high halo in the hair. Then we want to double check, make sure our points of origin are the same, so that when we're checking this for balance, that we're not losing our symmetry. We got to make sure we're always checking from the same place. Okay. come around to this side. We reestablish our center guide. What? Wow, hello. What I'm gonna do is create a side part, basically taking it back to just beyond a radial parting. The reason why I'm doing it diagonally is to help create a sense of balance in the hair. By doing this, by adding a bunch of hair on this side, it helps if we have a little bit of hair from this side coming this direction to compensate for the hair that we have moved. So again, now we're going to comb the entire head more or less to natural fall. Sound of okay. So very good, just so you can see. So right here, I'm going to comb this back just a wee bit and bring it back around into my line. And what I hope that does for me is it just gives me a little bit more or connects to that line, a little bit more asymmetry. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to kind of do this side, which is going to be a little different, yeah? Combing everything to natural fall. Elevation is 0 degrees. Distribution is natural fall. Okay, this part here, again, we're going to kind of comb it back and down and have it join back in to our line right in the front. And sometimes it actually just helps to put finger right there as you're combing that down. Okay. All right, there we go. Now we blow dry. Okay, as before, I have sectioned off this into kind of an abbreviated version of what we do. We're going to do everything in the nape area first by stretch drying everything back and forth, kind of to keep volume to minimum, but not smash it down either. Then I'm going to take a horseshoe. We're going to work all that in the center and the interior, and then we're going to work the top part and get a little bit of volume going in that. So here we go. Okay, so if you noticed, I was working primarily at the roots. The roots give you all of your directions, so I always try to break down the roots and get my direction going. Direction can also mean volume, so if we're talking about elevating the hair, distributing and elevating the hair up so that we get a volume, then it can mean that as well. Okay, so now we move on to the finished work of the bob. Again, we're going to kind of put the head forward a little bit. I'm going to turn my stand because I can't really get a good angle on that. Because really what you need to do is bend them down like that. And you're going to see all this stuff underneath there. Okay? That is what we call excess graduation. It's created by the fact that there is a bend in the neck. And no matter what you do, there's always going to be this little tiny bit of hair that wants to kind of poke up at the end. Do not sweat it. This is why we do finish work. So I'm going to just go in and kind of deep point cut that out of our way. Now the reason I'm doing deep point cutting, I never go in with my scissors like that because it creates some really strong lines in the hair. I don't ever worry about hurting my client because I'm not cutting on the way in, okay? I'm not going like this. I'm actually cutting on the out. So I bring my scissors up and then I'm kind of cutting as I roll the hair out. Okay, so. Now for the most part, we are done, okay? Here is our classic bob. Now see, by doing that, when we bring this back, that will join back in and it will look symmetric. But as soon as, obviously, as soon as she goes down, this will drop forward. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and sometimes, you know, you're gonna end up with these little pieces of hair that wanna come over from the other side. I say let them. And don't okay. And here's our classic bob.